welcome back for another episode of Sneaky Keys. This is the video series where I talk about those books that you might not know are worth as much as they actually are. These are some books that might sneak up on you and you might be surprised at how much you can get if you were to go and find them and dig them out of a box at your LCS or wherever you do your comic book hunting these days. This is my spiritual successor to Hidden Gems, where I'm just kind of following up on some of those books. And again, you might just be surprised by how much some of these books might be. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure that you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. And if you want to see this week's selection of books, I actually portion this out to have 3 groupings this time, where the last couple of shows I've done 2. Stretching it out, maybe get to that 20-minute mark, and we're going to do 3 this week. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. And yeah, if you want to see this week's group, just hang out for a second after the intro, and I will be right back. All right, kicking us off with our first batch of Sneaky Keys, we are going to go on a cover run for a very particular artist. I thought about doing this as an artist retrospective, but we're only doing 1 title, so I'm not doing a whole bunch of titles for said artist like we did with Bruce Timm. This is just 1 run focused in just on a single title and a single artist, kind of like the Nightwing Dan Morris. So with that, let's take a look at Dejah Thoris, Warlord of Mars, the Lucio Parrillo covers. You might be surprised by how much some of these just A covers and B covers might actually do. Again, these are not incentives. There are some incentives that we can go over one of these days, but these are just open order books that you might go and find in a box somewhere out there. Starting off with this one, we're going with number 18, which I believe was the first non-incentive B cover that Parrillo did on this run, because the earlier issues did have some, and I think they were like 1 in 15s, and yes, they're valuable. They're a little more difficult to find because they are incentives at 1 in 15s, but at this point, he was just doing the B covers. These were just the subscription covers of the B covers on Dynamite. Way before Dynamite did 26 covers, they sometimes just did 2 or 3. So here we go with the Parrillo, featuring, again, Warlord of Mars, Dejah Thoris. Granted, this one right here, just to start us off, is averaging only about $14, which, again, it's not that bad. But this is stuff you might dig out of a dollar bin. You might find it for cover price or less, maybe just $2 or $3 out of a box somewhere. And to get 14, that's not a bad little return. As far as listings go, people are seeking anywhere from $8 to $30. So it is kind of a wide range here on what the asking price is on a book like this is. So, you take what you can get, see what you can get if you find one out there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is the first B cover, the non-incentive version that Parrillo did on this run of Warlord of Mars. And there are a few more that we can cover here because it's a good run. It is a good run of covers, and there are some that, again, do a little bit better than others. Like this one. This one actually has come down a little bit from where it once was. Because I remember back when I first looked at this a couple of years ago, issue 21, again, you can see probably why it is a bit close to being not suitable for work, but it is. Everything's covered. This one right now, it's averaging only about $20. This was like a $50 to $60 book at one time. And even some of the asks are still in that range, averaging listings looking for $20 to $55. Again, there are some outliers that are even higher. You might find a sneaky one that's a little bit cheaper here or there, might be a little banged up, but by and large, that's the range we're looking at here. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, the only other covers on this are basically cover price books. So it's really all about the artist. So these are really all about the Parrillo covers, because if you find a regular cover for issue 21 of Warlord of Mars, it's cover price or less. Like, nobody's looking for that. But you find the B cover with the Parrillo art, now you're looking at $20 plus. So keep that in mind. It is all about the artist here. With that said, there we have 2. Let's move on to our third option from this same run. This is issue 30. Got a little bit of bondage here on this cover, which again hits another little niche collecting part of the market. This one averaging a tiny bit more, about $22 on average for this issue, if you can find it. Listings will stretch the highs out a little bit further. It could be anywhere from $20 to $80. You go check out listings right now. That's what people are looking for this book. So once again, B covers, they're out there. You can find them. Just go digging a little bit. And with that, I got another one that we want to talk about right here. Going on with the run, this is issue number 33. Another kind of bondage cover with a bit of chains. Again, getting close to being not suitable for work. It is a little bit more risque, but again, it is still everything covered, so don't worry about that. Average here, about 21 bucks. So you can see the last three all in the same kind of range as far as what's actually been selling. And then the asks, once again, could go anywhere from 20 all the way up to 80 on something like this. So B covers. These are B covers. So keep those Parrillos in mind when you're looking at Warlord of Mars. And again, he had a great run with some Red Sonjas, Vampirillos. We can go look at some of that other stuff another day. There are some incentives, like I mentioned before, but these are just some of the B covers that you should be keeping an eye out for when you're digging. With that said, one to watch, kind of in the same ballpark, is actually going to be the last issue of this run, the final issue of this run of Warlord of Mars, and that's issue 35. And you can see here, you got the light Martian in the background. And again, a little bit of close to being not suitable for work right up in front. It's kind of in the same range as the last few, but it being the final issue at the end of the run, it could be a little harder to find and eventually get that little bit of extra bit of collectability. As you know, with those last to knows that I would sometimes do. I should do a show of those back again. Those final issues are a good collecting tip, because again, print runs go down, a little harder to find. Some of those books do command a bit of a premium over the others. So here's our final issue, issue 35, getting 21 bucks. Average listings, looking for 20 to 60. Again, kind of in that same range. And those are our books for the Warlord of Mars Lucio Parrillo books to keep an eye out for. Now, before we get to the next segment, I want to remind any of you out there who need supplies, use my code RENA10 to save yourself 10% off your BCW order. Get your bags, your boards, your long boxes, your short boxes, CGC boxes, top loaders, pages for your cards, top loaders for your cards, basically anything to keep your comics or collectibles safe. You can save 10% by using my code RENA10 over at BCW. Save yourself some money, help out the channel. What you got to lose? Now, we're going to take a little trip around our little museum here of our sneaky keys, and we're going to look at another batch of books here. So we're going to go into another room, another topic, second prints. Specifically, the second prints from the 2010 X-Men run. I know I talked about a couple of these before prior, but again, I feel like hitting up some of these old topics is kind of fun to do a couple of years later. Newer viewers might not have seen those original shows from 3 or 4 years ago, and it's also getting a price update to see how some of these things are doing these days. So, the second prints from the 2010 X-Men run, starting off that Dracula storyline. Here we go, Curse of the Mutants, #1, second print. This is the first issue. This one's going to be on the cheaper side of things because it is the issue 1, so it was more heavily printed, and you see the big group shot here on the second print. That said, you can still get 16 bucks for this thing if you could find this in a box. And I used to find this era of second prints all the time while out there digging in those dollar boxes. Because again, second print collecting, it started to become more of a thing over the last few years as people got with the collectability and they like the different cover art. I personally like it when there's new cover art on these things, and that's what this run has. This is not the regular cover. This is new cover art on this second print for issue 1. So 16 bucks on average is what you can get for it. Listings, right now they're listing 20 to 25. So they're looking for a little bit more. It's not a bad little book for you to go and dig for and hunt. Again, you look for the second print. It says it right at the top in the Marvel red box at the top where it says #1. You can see second printing. So it's an easy one to identify. Now, we're going through this run because that's what we're talking about here. So our next one, which actually kicked me off of talking about some of these second printings a while back, was this Blade cover. Because I remember this one just jumping out at me when I was flipping through a box, and I'm like, what is this? Again, new art, Blade on issue 2 of X-Men, because again, it's a vampire storyline. They do cross over here with Blade for a bit. This one used to be a lot pricier. Used to be like 50 bucks. Right now, it might be down a little bit, averaging about $24, but that still ain't bad if you can go dig out an old second print from a box. But some of the listings are still seeking some of those numbers, as it could go anywhere from 10 to 50 right now is what people are seeking. Again, some are at auction. Some might not be near mint, might have a couple of little dings and dents here and there. You get what you pay for. So you know what? Higher the price, higher the grade, better the book usually. But take a look. Make sure you know what you're getting before you go spending big bucks on these things. I'm telling you, you might have some of these things and not know what they're already worth, or something to go look for when you're digging in the boxes. I'm not telling you to go spend 50 bucks for this book. I'm telling you, look for it. Maybe you find it for $5, maybe even 10, and maybe you could turn it into something a little bit bigger. I don't know. With that said, there are our first two. So you can guess where we're going next. We are going with issue 3. And yes, this is another one that does well. We got Wolverine on it. I forget the name of the vampire lady at the back there. But issue 3, the bite heard around the world. Wait, was that? That might have been with Jubilee. Because Jubilee, this is when Jubilee got turned into a vampire. I can't remember if she's the one who bit Wolverine or not. But that all said, memory getting a little hazy here. Issue 3, second printing. I couldn't find any actual recent sales right now, so I don't know what this might actually sell for, because none have sold in the last few months. But the couple copies I found listed for this one are seeking $50 to $60. So take that for what it's worth. Is this worth $50 to $60? Well, people are asking it. Nobody's paying it yet, but maybe they will. I don't know. Just something worth noting, something to look for. Again, keep an eye on it. Dig it out of a box for cheap is what I'm telling you to do. All right, sticking with our second prints on the X-Men. Let's go with our final one here in this run. This is issue 4. It's a sideways cover, which I'm not a fan of. I'm annoyed by it when they put the covers on the side. I just make it a wraparound. If you're going to go do the art this way, make it a wraparound cover. But with that said, this is what they decided to do on issue 4. And just to give you a better look at it, this is what it would look like if you did it as a wraparound. I think it would have been better play. $51 this one sells for. That's right, $51. Average listing, $45 to $80 for just this second print. Again, yes, there was Dracula and Dracula's son was in this storyline, but this wasn't a huge deal. Like the regular issues here aren't worth all that much. So getting the second print, it's all about the, I don't want to say the rarity or the perceived rarity, whatever you want to call it. There are less of them. So let's not say they're not more rare, but calling something rare could be tricky business, because it depends on what you're talking about here compared to what. With that said, average listing price is $45 to $80. It's still something worth noting and keeping in mind, because if you find it for cheaper, maybe you found yourself a nice little hit there, a nice little sneaky key that you can go dig out of a box. With that said, I don't have anyone to watch here because this is where that run ended with the second printings. So they stopped after 4. They hit up some second prints later on, but they're unrelated to this storyline. We can cover that again another time. I've already covered them before on other shows, but maybe another time. But before we go to the last room and our last group of books, one more reminder, anybody out there who hasn't tried Whatnot before, use the link down below to sign up and get yourselves a free $15 to spend on whatever you want with whomever you want. No strings attached. You can spend your $15 with whomever you like on whatever you like. It doesn't have to be comics. It can be whatever you want. But you sign up, get $15 to spend. You help out the channel. Again, you get yourself something nice for $15 or $15 cheaper if you decide to spend more than that. That's up to you. And with our final room, we're going to take a little walk around over here. We are going to look at Castlevania comics to kind of stick on that vampire theme that I had in my head when I was doing the second prints on that X-Men run. It was all about Dracula, his son, and vampires. So let's look at vampires and Castlevania, because I do like these comics and I always hunt these IDW books. This is Castlevania, the Belmont Legacy. It is a 5-issue run. It's a 5-issue miniseries. Not the easiest thing to find, but they're not impossible to find either. So something to keep an eye on when you're out there digging. Again, I'm a big fan of these. I particularly like this cover on the first issue. No variants. It's just one cover per book. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. This is the first issue. Regular cover. Average sales, it's $44 these days. Didn't always used to be that way. This was like maybe 10 to 20 for a while, and it was a nice little find, but now $44 if you can find this Castlevania one, with average listings looking for 30 to 70. Not bad. Not bad for a Castlevania comic if you can go out there and find it. And also, just to throw it out there, I mentioned this is a set. Sets are selling generally around 100 to 140. So just keep that in mind as well. When you're out there digging, hunting, if you can get the whole thing, you might be able to get 100 to 140 for all 5. Now, as I mentioned, that was book 1. So let's look at the rest of them. Hitting up book 2 next. Cover's not bad. It's not as good as issue 1 in my opinion, but not bad. As such, this one, average sales looking 15 to 20 is what they've been going for. But the listings are seeking a lot more. So even though the recent sales are 15 to 20, what's left over right now on the market, they're looking for 45 to 50. Will they get it? I don't know. That's a big ask, but 15 to 20 is still not bad if you can find it for cheap. So there we go. Issue 2. Let's check out issue 3. Right here in the middle of the run, right at that pivot point. Again, got the whip, Belmonts, as you know. That's the classic weapon from the video game Castlevania throughout the series. Belmont and their whips. This is another book. Average sales, 10 to 15 bucks. Doesn't seem all that impressive, but again, if you're digging at $1 box, a box that's like $2, $3, you do all right if you find a few of these. That's what I'm saying. Average listings for this one, while sales are 10 to 15, this one is also 15, as high as 50. That's what they're asking. You know, they're asking for this thing. So will they get it? Who knows? Well, we know they can get the 15, so we'll see. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3. Let's move on to number 4. Another cool cover here. We've got eyeball missing, broken joints and fingers. Cool stuff. Same kind of ballpark here. 15 to 20 is what it's been selling for. Average listings are actually a little bit cheaper on issue 4. It's only asking $10 to $25 right now. So it's not too, I don't want to say it's a cheap book or a discount, but that's not so bad. Not so bad compared to some of the others. But I'm, again, not telling you to pay these prices. I'm telling you to go and find it for cheaper than that. And then maybe you can go make a few bucks on the flip. That's the whole idea behind this. Now, that's issues 1, 2, 3, and 4. And usually this would be like one to watch or something. But since I already told you it's a 5-issue set, that just leaves me one more left. So this will be our last book for the day. So this is just going to be one more for the road. So one last book for the day. Final issue of the run. Yes, it kind of hits that mark of it being the last issue. But considering it's a planned miniseries, it's not exactly the same. But still, you might get a little bit of a premium eventually. With that said, here's the final issue, issue 5. Also selling currently for about 10 to 15 bucks, but average listings are seeking a bit more in that 15 all the way up to $55 for this book. So maybe you can get a few bucks more for this final issue if you find it. But again, 100 to 140 for the whole set. Issue 1 is probably the prize of the bunch. Grab any of them if you find them for cheap enough. And like I said, I found these for $1, $2, and cheaper. Like, I found these. So they're out there. They're out there. Just go out there digging, and who knows what you might find. And with that said, that's all I got for you this week. That's all I got for you this time out. Hopefully you enjoyed that and are still enjoying this series. And I'm still enjoying doing this. So let me know what you think. If you think 3 topics is good for this show, or 2 works better, and if I slow things down, idea being I want this to be about a 20-minute show, like dollar bin digging and chasing ghosts, etc. But with all that said, that's all I got for you. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you for all the support, and I'll see you all later with some more content. All right.